Hey folks, this is Kelani. It seems like the leveling process has been under the microscope quite a lot these days, which is probably thanks to the changes we've seen recently, as well as the addition of allied races. Changing up how the entire world scales was fantastic when it comes to opening up the leveling experience, making sure everything flows decently for any new players, while giving veteran players the option to level almost anywhere they want to. But there wasn't really any strong incentive to play through the new leveling experience until the allied races came around, and when players started taking their new races out into the old world, a lot of people seemed to be disappointed with how long it takes to level. They finally had access to these shiny new races, but the leveling process loomed ahead of them as a huge barrier, locking away that delicious endgame content and the much coveted heritage armor sets. There's been a lot of back and forth on these issues, and there seems to be two sides to this ongoing debate. Those who feel like the leveling process is fun and engaging, and leveling up a character should require a good chunk of time and effort, and those who would rather throw the leveling process out the window in favour of reaching endgame as quickly as possible. Personally, I think things could be a bit faster, so let's have a chat about why people think the leveling process is too drawn out, and discuss some of the ways in which the dev team could speed things up a little bit. So first things first, why do people want to go faster? Isn't the World of Warcraft leveling experience just so amazingly enjoyable that you would want to spend a little extra time leveling? Well, not really. The changes to leveling are fantastic for new players. I think adding world scaling to all of the old expansions is an amazing step forward and is very healthy for the game overall, but it doesn't really do a great deal for players who have already played through the content. If you want new, fresh, fantastic leveling for 1 to 100, you're going to need some new stories, new questing, new areas, new content, which is just too much to ask when you consider how many expansions we've been through at this point. We can't really expect them to replace anything, so 1 to 100 will stay the same for the most part. That's a lot to go through again and again whenever you want to play a new class. Players don't want to spend hours working their way through the same content just so they can play the good stuff on a new character. I expect that's why boosts are now available with every new expansion pack. Returning to World of Warcraft might seem like a fantastic idea, but if you do a little research and find out that because you haven't played since Wrath of the Lich King, you'll have to level up through some old expansions, even if you haven't been through them yourself yet, just to catch up to the current story. I imagine that might put off quite a few would-be returning players, but now you can hop straight into the action with the included boosts. You don't have to tell your friends you'll be ready in a few weeks, you can be ready now. That tells me the dev team knows this is something of a problem already, yet they seem quite keen on removing and limiting our sources of bonus experience. I hope that's in preparation of including something different, some other boost to give players who have already leveled to max an option for leveling up future alts quicker. So let's check out some interesting ideas for speeding up leveling. One of the best parts of introducing world scaling is that you can stick around in zones much longer than before. Even if you're gaining each level a teeny bit slower, it actually is probably a bit faster to quest through an entire zone now thanks to the world scaling. You don't have to move around as much, and as long as quests keep coming, you can keep helping out the locals for that awesome experience. But completing an entire zone doesn't really reward you with anything, so what if finishing a zone, completing all of the quest achievements tied to the zone's storylines, awarded you with an experience bonus? This could be a straight up good chunk of experience to reward you for sticking through all of those kill-collect quests, even if the wolves don't seem to have any ears or fur or whatever else those weird NPCs ask you to collect. You rescued the townsfolk, put out all those fires and killed the cultists behind the whole plot. You saved Ajara, or the Barrens, or Westfall. You're a hero, so you should be awarded as such. Seeing a huge experience bonus would be awesome and would probably be the greatest incentive you could add if you really wanted players to quest through entire zones. Newer players especially will see that and think, wow, that's the way I should be questing. They would actively want to complete a zone story instead of hopping ship as soon as the quests started trailing off. It doesn't have to be just experience too. Finishing a zone's quest could give you a buff which increased experience gain from all sources on a time limit, just to speed things up a little bit. Now obviously this method would just speed up leveling overall instead of reward veteran players, which is fine too, but if you want to keep the leveling speed-ups exclusive to players who have already leveled up once before, you could also add the experience bonus as a reward from already completing those zones. So if you leveled through Westfall on a previous character, all of your characters who go through Westfall again will earn more experience for those quests. You could take this one step further and have an heirloom tied to these achievements to grant the appropriate experience. The most popular slot for a new heirloom seems to be the tabard, and I actually love this idea. Heirlooms are a bit weird in that they both increase the speed at which you level, but also take away from one of the most interesting parts of leveling up, switching around your gear. The tabard slot is more or less a free slot most of the time, so what if completing a zone awarded you with a tabard that your other characters could wear for bonus experience while questing through that exact same zone? Not only does this open up an entire wardrobe of tabards for those zones' major characters or themes for transmog, but it also provides an interesting way to speed up leveling. One zone at a time could be a little annoying, and I can see how creating that many new heirloom tabards could be a pain more than anything else, but an heirloom tabard which increases experience gains is an interesting idea. The question then becomes, what do you tie to this tabard? What process or challenge should award a tabard which speeds up leveling? Well, how about Lawmaster? Complete every quest line in every zone in every expansion. Complete every storyline available to us. It's not like you could complain that someone with Lawmaster hasn't already gone through most of the quests available in the game. Giving them an extra boost for going through them again on a new character isn't too much to ask for, surely. The Lawmaster achievement already awards a tabard too. All that's left is to slap a tasty experience bonus on it and watch everyone flock to the zones they have yet to complete for the achievement. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if heirlooms were done away with if this tabard existed in one form or another, but it would be nice to see some reward for finishing a zone's storylines. Heirlooms have been our main source of bonus experience for quite a while now, and they kind of provided the service that I seem to be describing. Back in the old days, you couldn't acquire heirlooms unless you were max level. There have been quite a few ways to obtain them over the years, from old currencies, event vendors, time-walking badges, but most importantly, they're now available for gold. Being available for gold means you can actually pick up heirlooms at any level now. Heck, you could buy yourself a token, sell it on the auction house, and buy up all the heirlooms at the Undercity or Ironforge vendor at level 1. So even though they used to be a way for veteran players to level up a bit faster the next time around, they're too widely available for that to be the case these days, which might be why the dev team hasn't really gone back to change anything about them, except to limit their impact on how quickly you can level. A full set of heirlooms with 2 rings isn't even worth it anymore, and now Recruit a Friend awards the same bonus as a full set of heirlooms, but doesn't stack with them. It's a little bizarre, but either way, heirlooms could still be our saviour. I dislike heirlooms because they hog so many gear slots while leveling, but if we're going to level without actually being able to collect loot for half of our slots, why not go all the way? Heirlooms for every slot. One for you, one for you, one for you. But this time, make them available to max level characters only. They could be a reward for something challenging like the Mage Tower, or something leveling related like the Lawmaster achievements. Being a reward would probably feel better than just being available for gold as well, but maybe that's just my personal preference. Adding in more heirlooms is definitely an easy option, but what else would work? Apparently, there are a few games out there which make use of an option which would be even easier than adding in a handful of new heirlooms. Whenever a player reaches max level with a new character, their account earns an additional percentage of experience for every character after. Imagine if you hit max level and from then on, every other character earned 5% bonus experience just because you've already run through the leveling process before. Get 2 up to max, that's 10%. But maybe there should be a cap in there somewhere. If you're anything like me, you probably have too many toons floating around. I remember back on my EU account I had nearly a full roster of max levels across a few servers before Mists of Pandaria. I didn't actually play too much of Mists until I moved to the NA servers to play with my wife, where I collected yet another roster of champions before moving servers. I'm a little weird, I want my roster of alts on the same server as my main, even if it doesn't really matter all that much, so I went to town again on Illidan, except I keep hitting several roadblocks with a few of my characters. They're so close, yet so far. I really don't want to run around Warlords and do all those bonus objectives again, but I can see how this type of veteran bonus might become a little overpowered if restrictions weren't set in place. Maybe throw a cap of 50% on it, which stacks with heirlooms, so we're not back to square one again, and then when a new expansion comes around, wipe the slate clean so you're incentivized to level up your characters again, but also so no one would start with a huge bonus experience advantage for the new content. It could be an elegant, simple solution that would yield increasing benefits the more you're able to level through 1 to 110. If you add in an NPC which could turn this bonus on or off, you can then also opt out of the system if you wish. This option does seem to tick all of the boxes, but then again, we could just go back to basics. Experience potions have been introduced in quite a few expansions, but it looks like Blizzard wants to do away with them. I'm not too sure why. Experience potions are a fantastic way to allow players to work towards faster leveling, as long as they're acquired from reasonable places. Having the Elixir of the Rapid Mind come primarily from the Winter's Veil event in your Warlords of Draenor garrison was ridiculous, and I'm glad those potions are gone. The potion that dropped from rares in Mists of Pandaria was a bit better, but not by much. Players camping old expansion rares for experience potions isn't my idea of wholesome, rewarding content. I think the best experience potions we've seen recently was probably in Warlords of Draenor, but from the garrison itself. Spending 100 resources to boost your experience by 10% is closer to the mark than any other potions, I think. It's not too crazy, it's account bound, but most importantly, it's reliable. But the scope isn't quite there. Imagine if you could buy 10% or 20%, something around that mark, experience potions with your Veiled Argonite, or any other currency being used in Legion right now. You need a max level character to obtain these potions, but you also have to put in a bit of effort on those max level toons before you can afford the experience potions. You play your main to help level up your ult, make them account wide to prevent what happened to the Rapid Mind potions, and I think you've got a decent source of faster leveling. The potions could work a few other ways too. It doesn't just have to be straight up bonus experience. You could have a potion which grants you more rested experience. Rested experience is a bit of a pain to wait for if you want to be actively playing and leveling a character, but a potion which refills your rested experience could provide a significant increase in leveling speed, and if the potion comes from your main's activities, that's once again playing your main to help out your ults. Or you could spice things up a little by using the Awakening Essence currency, the same one which lets you buy up legendary items for a larger experience potion. Now if you have to choose between a legendary item or leveling up an ult faster, I'd say that's a pretty significant choice. It would make sense for these potions to be a little more powerful than just 10 or 20% bonus experience, and would give those players who play their main characters enough to have all of their legendaries another option for where to spend their essence. They can choose to level up an ult faster, as opposed to a random class legendary they might never use. I think experience potions can be an interesting reward for all types of content. As long as they don't end up in the cash store, I think they're a great idea. There's a lot of options here for increasing the leveling speed of new characters, which could be tied to a variety of requirements, and most of them work wonderfully for rewarding players that have already leveled before. But what do you think? Would any of these options work out in your opinion? Do you think leveling needs to be a bit faster, or are you happy with the way things are? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.